Such a rarity in today's minefield of political figures and disingenuous local leaders. John rarely needs an introduction, especially to this organization, and my attempts to do justice to his long-standing dedication to this city, I'm afraid, always fall short. John has been and continues to be a citizen-centered representative. Watching or attending one of the council meetings, you appreciate the obstacles he encounters in his efforts to bring an open and transparent city government to Virginia Beach. A city government that does not pick winners and losers, but treats all citizens fairly with priorities based on need and not greed. John possesses an amazing mind for facts and figures to the torment of many of his fellow council members. John has managed to let the lure of thousands of dollars of special interest campaign contribution pass him by, so he's beholden to no one but the citizens he pledged to support. Last November, I left the after-election night party depressed, saddened, and wondering how God could abandon the citizenry to the likes of Bruce Thompson's gang. Morning brought a new light, and that character, truth, and honesty won out. John Moss was reelected. Virginia Beach, there is a God. John remains true to his conviction to honor citizens' welfare and needs first. His people's budget is factual evidence that he continues the thankless job of citizen advocacy. Please help me welcome Councilman John Moss.
It's a pleasure to be here. You are very fortunate. Marlena is an excellent leader. When she spoke last Tuesday night, she was very eloquent. She was extremely constructive, but she was definitely very pointed and about the promises that people made, especially the mayor, and the expectation that they should rise to the occasion and honor their promises. It couldn't have been done in a better fashion. I'd be remiss if I too didn't acknowledge what a great job Laura Hughes did. Yeah. That is not a small amount of courage it takes, because often there's a thought process that once you're elected, you're now part of the team, and that the team of the school board is more important than the team of the public that you're supposed to serve, and that your loyalty is first and foremost to the decisions of the majority, whether you agree with them or not, rather than to representing the public that you serve. And it's not easy to stand up and to stand alone and to do what is right, but I think that is what has always distinguished greatness in America, and I really do appreciate that very much. And all the residents who spoke, whether they spoke for things that we all wanted to hear or not, I think that it is their government, and I wish hundreds of people had showed up, and we had to have a second night because we all got tired, even though some were sleeping on the stage. Anyway, but for those of us who were not sleeping, we might have needed a second night, because I think we can never hear enough from the people that we serve, because in the end, we are employees. We are not special in any sense of the word. Today I'm going to cover a little bit about the budget. I'm not going to go through every little detail, because then you too might go to sleep. But this budget we're going to talk about today isn't just a product of Jen Abbott and myself. And she's not here this morning because she's doing her own tour in the park with the residents of Kentsville this morning. So she's doing her sort of outreach. So we're kind of like spreading ourselves out. But also a number of residents who came over to my home on Sundays and Sunday evenings to work on this. And this truly is a people product. It's not just Jessica and myself, but ideas came from many. Diana did a lot of research. Robert, I know I'm escaping this one. Yeah, Miss Marsh, she did a lot. We borrowed some stuff from other people who sent emails. So it really was a collaborative effort. And we only touched the surface. Because remember, we got the budget on March 27th. And as you all know, if you don't have your whole alternative to develop by the middle of April, the other side says, oh, the public never had a chance to know what you did, and therefore, we really can't act on what you did, because all these excuses, because in reality, they don't want to know about an alternative. So we're compressed on time, but we found $19 million, and we only had to find 14.4. I did want to point out that this is something you hear all the time on television, but it's a true fact, but no one ever talks about the implication much. 70% of American households live paycheck to paycheck, and if emergency struck their household budget, they couldn't find $400 of cash. Now, Virginia Beach has many contingency funds, and they certainly have more than the proportional equivalent of $400 in terms of reserve. So this gets to the heart that the power to tax, and I can't remember the Supreme Court justice just said that was either Black or Marshall, is the power to destroy. It destroys wealth, and it destroys people's prosperity because it disproportionately takes their income. So what? They're living paycheck to paycheck. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have much aspirational hope of having a better life or a better life for your family. And that's not the role of government to do, to rob people of their future. Next, has this got a little clicker, or do I have to click it myself? Is this it? I'm somewhat, see how it works. Oh, there it goes. All right. I've often said, if you're in the customer service business, which is what council is in, you got to listen to the customer. And as I travel around the city all the time, what I hear from people is, from small businesses too, that the stock market might look good and interest rates might be low, but their margins in their business, if they have a margins, are also tight, and everyone is operating on very slim margins, and life is tough. Especially among seniors and single head of household, whether you're a dad or a mom, you're under a lot of pressure trying to make ends meet. So I often think, whenever I'm in my business, and I hope anyone who's got a business, you always think about your work. What are the principles that you operate by? You know, I think our whole country was founded on the basis of what? We didn't want to have, in part, taxation without representation, but we didn't want to be overtaxed with representation. I don't think that's what the plan was. Anyway, so I think you have to think about that people really do, and Jefferson talked about this now, have the first right to what they earn. You know, it isn't like government gets in line first for your paycheck. You really take first. And I think it's important that that people in elected office identify more with the people that pay the bill than they do with the bureaucracy that spends it. I don't think that's always true on the City Council of Virginia Beach. At the same time, it's like at home, you can't consume everything today because you have a time when you won't be working. Well, cities, generally speaking, don't pass away, but they got to prepare both for today, but they also have to think ahead and invest for the future. That's a competing need as it is at home. So city budgeting is like family budgeting, it's only more zeros. And if you have the ability within your baseline revenues to take care of needs, you should do that first. You shouldn't pay for wants with current cash flow and then tell people that you're going to have to pay higher taxes for things that we need. So you shouldn't build a music hall, you shouldn't build a new city hall if you can't pay your police officers properly and you can't keep people's homes dry when it rains. You got your priorities reversed, which is what that budget has. And public safety and education and flooding, if those are your highest priorities, which they are, those should be the first bills you pay. I think Laura talked about that. If your mission at the school board is students first, then why was kindergarten not funded first? Why is it the first unfunded thing you did? Maybe the school superintendent didn't make $249,000 and a $27,000 bonus. He might have a better appreciation for people who have to work hard to pay their taxes.
And really big lobsters.
Oh yeah, we'll come to that later, that's true. So I think it's also important when you're an elected official to kind of have a good feel for what's the lay of the land. You know, is the economy growing faster? How do you know what people's ability to pay is? Because if you're in a business, you got a price point on your product. If you overprice it, no one comes into the store. Except government has the ability to what? Confiscate. So they don't have to think about that you volunteer to come into the store. They're going to tax you whether you come or not. But I think you have to look at how the economy is growing. Now, we just did hear that the first quarter grew 3.5%, more than what people thought. But a lot of that wasn't driven by final sale retail. That was up 1.9%. That was mainly attributed to what? People in industry building up inventories in their stores rather than actual retail transactions. It's interesting, you got to look below the surface. But nonetheless, the region gross domestic product is growing much slower than the national economy, and our budget's up 3.6%, almost 2% more than the overall economy is growing in the locality. That means that local government is disproportionately consuming resources and probably is dampening economic growth because of squeezing discretionary income in the private sector. The average weekly wage in Virginia Beach is $805 in the private sector a week. 800, that's 151,000 people work in the private sector of Virginia Beach. The average weekly wage is $805. And if you adjust it, the average weekly wage back in 2009 for inflation, they're actually making $10 less a week than they made in purchasing power in 2009. Now that shouldn't surprise you, because when we hear nationwide, the average household in terms of real wages has not grown in over 2 decades. But I can assure you the city's budget has grown in real terms over those 2 decades. So that just means that the city is growing at our expense. Plain and simple, they're not living within their means. 40% of our children are in school on free or reduced lunch. And over half our kids come from single-headed household families. They don't control all that. That's just statistics, but it does kind of tell you the financial stress that families are under. And they're paying those taxes and fees like everybody else. And they have the least ability to do that. Our poverty is up 2.2% from 2009. We have 2% more people roughly in poverty than we did 9 years ago. That's certainly not a sign of a booming real wage growth economy. And we have 43,000 residents on food stamps. I suspect most people don't know that, I would suspect. 18,000 households, and 51.5% of the people who rent are paying more than 30% of their income on rent. I didn't say utilities, I rent itself. And by definition, they are financially stressed. And I can believe that for certain. And this was astonishing. This is a figure that I think that Rhoda Marsh came up with, that 30% or 39,000 of our water customers had their water turned off in the last 14 months for failure for the ability to pay. Now, what does that tell you about a large part of our community's financial health? They are struggling. As that one firefighter said Tuesday night, what did he say? We are drowning in this economy. And someone else got up later and said, well, you're not the only ones. So while we were all drowning in this economy, the city manager and maybe majority of council want to hand you a glass of water with tax and fees increases. They are not helping. This budget as proposed is punishing the public, and we shouldn't be doing that. Went back.
Yeah.
There. This was our objective of the team that we had. Not surprisingly, we didn't want to have a real estate tax increase. You can read those, I'm not going to read to you, but that's what we were trying to do. Those 6 things we thought was very doable.
I hate to interrupt. Could you please read those, because there's a few
Virtual?
people watching right now, they can't.
Okay, that's all. Well, the 6 things were no real estate tax increase, no stormwater management fee increase. We want to address public safety compensation. These are things we all talked about during the campaign. It's amazing how many candidates we're going to do those first 3. We're going to do those first 2 things during the campaign. We want to increase the investment in drainage maintenance. It's important to point out that the city manager's recommended budget, he doesn't begin to address the backlog and drainage maintenance until 3 years from now. 3 years from now. But we have plenty of money for a new sports center and a new music hall and a dome site and lots of other stuff, and a new city hall. And then increase the debt capacity available for flood mitigation, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. It's not bad. Okay, I'm gonna have to have some technical assistance with this clicker. I don't know what I did here.
Hit that little big box that expanded up in the right-hand corner.
I was gonna do the presentation, I think, is objectives I talked about. So how much money out of this $2.2 billion did we have to find? You're talking about 1.5% on the city side of $1.1 billion that the city manager just had to find out of what he already takes. But no, couldn't do that, so he's coming in and asking you to go find your 1.5%. Who do you think's in a better position to find 1.5%? The guy who makes $280,000 or you? I think he should have and he failed. But it takes $8.6 million roughly to offset his proposed real estate tax increase. It takes about $3.2 million to offset, I call it the rain tax, the stormwater management fee, and it roughly takes $2.7 million to offset the increase in the trash fee. The reason being is SIPSA lowered their tipping fee by $2 a ton after the budget was submitted and recommended, and so that reduced the amount of the offset. So you're talking about $14.5 million. $14.5 million. It sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at the context of $1.1 billion, it's not a lot of money for someone and $1 million management team to go and find. Next.
What? Oh, just the right arrow. Just hit the right arrow.
So, did we do that? We did. And we'll call a little bit of how we did it. We found that real estate offset. We found all those things. And by pushing the new city hall, which certainly can wait, outside the fit up, that freed up $45.7 million of already funded debt that we can use for what everyone says is our #1 priority, flooding, and not new city hall. Because if we don't build a new city hall, I guess that's where we're all going to have to go when our houses flood, because there'll be one place that's dry. And also we set aside $6 million of that $45 million to go into raise rural roads in the southern part of the city. So we can't necessarily, in the short run, deal with all the wind tides, but we can raise the roads so that people can get in and out. And then by doing eliminating some projects, remember we had a pier project at the ocean front?
Yeah.
Well, the pier project went away, thank goodness. And then without any briefing during the council, they came up with the 17th Street project for $30-something million. And that's borrowing. I'll talk to them about that, borrowing. And I said, well, you know, that can wait. We can free up that borrowing for flooding because that's a higher priority. We'll talk about that. Next. So, just walk through here. Now, what you're going to hear often from some city staff, they're going to say, oh, but the trash fee is an enterprise fund and you can't use general fund money to supplement an enterprise fund. Well, what they don't tell you is that when we converted the waste management from the general fund to an enterprise account, we did not plus up the enterprise fund for all the accumulated appreciation to date on all the capital equipment. And we just passed that liability to the users of the system. That's just accounting and financially wrong. Since this here is, they said they were raising the fee, remember, Diane remembers this, to buy equipment for waste management. Well, equipment is a one-time expense. So we're one-time expensing buying the equipment with one-time money, and therefore we don't need to raise the trash fee. But that's why it takes people with a history on city council so they can remember how we got to where we are. And they hope we have amnesia. And then we put some of the money into increased one-time drainage, and we have that. And then also we talk about the bonds. Next. Well, this is how we got our money. This is the math check. All of us know that the TIP fund, Tourist Investment Program Fund, gets a lot of streams of revenue from a lot of sources. One of those sources is the amusement tax. 100% of the amusement tax goes into the Tourist Investment Fund. Does anyone think that all the taxes on bowling and golf and movies and whatever is paid only by tourists? No, no one believes that. No one can even say that. So why shouldn't half of the money go to the unrestricted general fund? Because we're paying it. And so therefore we reduce the amount of money going into the TIP fund